The open world Zelda formula kinda sucks. That's right. I said what I said. What are you gonna do? Eat me? Go ahead, it was what I was made for.
Hey there, all you sword-swinging, rupee-collecting, grass-chopping, pot-smashing, princess-saving compadres. Welcome to the Milky Donut. Now today we're talking about a rather divisive subject within the Zelda fandom, and one that hits personally pretty close to home. That being the state of the Legend of Zelda series. And for those of you who don't know, which is probably every single one of you because I've only posted one video before this one, and if you didn't watch my Helldivers 2 video, first of all, as soon as this video is over, why don't you just head on over there and take a nice big old bite out of that one. But in that one, I said that Ocarina of Time is my favorite video game of all time. As a matter of fact, it's the first game I ever remember having an emotional connection to. Me and my grandpa used to spend hours together playing that game. So am I biased towards the old ways of Zelda? Absolutely. And I'm not going to pretend like I'm not. But in this video, I'm going to talk about how I just don't feel like the current formula for Zelda works. It at least doesn't feel like Zelda. And I think we need to change as soon as possible. So strap in, get ready, get yourself a nice snack, and let's get into this one. Now, whether you're somebody who's been a fan of these games since the 80s and 90s and considers yourself to be a Zelda veteran, or you're somebody whose first game was Breath of the Wild, I think that we can all agree that at the very least, there's a pretty big split in the current fandom of the Zelda franchise. On one side, you've got players swooning over this whole open-air freedom formula where you're basically handed the keys to Hyrule and told, alright, go wild buddy, no strings attached, do whatever your little heart desires. Where's Zelda? Who cares? Look at this cool stick. And then on the flip side, you've got the Nostalgia Brigade pining for the good old days of linear gameplay, dungeons galore, and events that actually happen when the clock ticks. It's kind of like we're stuck in some kind of Hylian identity crisis. Well, which side is right? Well, to even begin to answer that question, we first had to figure out what even makes a Zelda game and truly sets them apart from the rest. Is it the intricate tapestry of mind-bending puzzles that tease your intellect and ignite your curiosity? Or perhaps it's the thrill of venturing into the untamed wilderness, stumbling upon an ancient enigmatic temple that whispers tales of bygone eras, sparking a cascade of questions like, who built this? What secrets does it hold? What was it used for? Or maybe it's picturing yourself donning the green tunic of Link, stepping into the shoes of a hero destined for greatness. Through his eyes, you embark on an odyssey of epic proportions, traversing vast landscapes and conquering daunting challenges that surpass the boundaries of your imagination, experiencing the exhilaration of unraveling mysteries as you journey through the labyrinthian corridors of dungeons, each step bringing you closer to uncovering the truth behind the veil of legend. Or maybe it's all of these. Well, before I explain why I think Zelda as we knew it died with Breath of the Wild, I'm gonna preface it by saying, do I think Breath of the Wild is a good game? No. I think it's a fantastic game. As a matter of fact, it's one of my top 10 games of all time that I have over 300 hours invested into. Do I think that Tears of the Kingdom is an amazing feat of gaming while still feeling like it's really just the definitive version of Breath of the Wild and inevitably feels a bit too familiar and underwhelming? Absolutely. So before you click off this video or get ready to call me a nostalgia-blinded person that just wants his childhood back, I already know that. So you're not going to tell me anything I don't already know. So that being said, this just does not feel like Zelda to me. Let's cut to the chase here because I'm not going to tiptoe around the issue. That's what everybody else does, and honestly, I'm tired of seeing it. I'm just here to defend the classic Zelda formula like my life depends on it. Because let's face it, whether you want to hear it or not, the new open world craze is just a big old slap in the face to everything we hold dear about this franchise. The classic Zelda formula isn't just some relic of the past, it's the very heart and soul of this series. And I don't want to hear the argument, but Milky, the original formula was actually open world, and modern formula is just that same formula fully realized with modern technology. Well, maybe. But just because it's technically the original formula doesn't make it the one we fell in love with. I would argue that the classic Zelda formula that we fell in love with was actually started by A Link to the Past in 1991 and forged into stone with the release of Ocarina of Time in 1998 on the Nintendo 64. You want structure, you want purpose, you want to actually feel like you're making progress instead of just aimlessly wandering around like a skull kid that got lost 20 years ago in the Lost Woods? Well, that's what the classic formula delivers in a way that closes in on perfection. And don't even get me started on the storytelling. The classic Zelda games didn't just tell a story, they painted a freaking masterpiece.
Once upon a time, there was a lovely princess.
But let's just throw that all out the window, shall we? Let's trade in our carefully crafted dungeons and mind-bending puzzles for a world so big you need a big-ass iPhone just to find your way around. Yeah, because that's what we all wanted, right? More space to get lost and less time actually enjoying the adventure. Alright, I'm getting dramatic. I'd be lying if I didn't say I didn't have a blast spending 200 hours seeing something in the distance just to head out on a journey to get there and then get distracted 20 feet into that journey. But what about charm? The classic Zelda games practically oozed charm from every single location. The music, the art style, the quirky characters, and I'm not saying that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom don't have any charm or don't have good music or good art styles, because they absolutely do. But the characters in the old games, they were just like old friends you couldn't wait to hang out with again. But now it's more about unlimited freedom and just wandering around a big giant landscape. And call me old-fashioned if you want, I'm not gonna back down. The classic Zelda formula isn't just better, it's worth fighting tooth and nail for. And sure, blind nostalgia can be detrimental, but I think there's a place for it. And it's often immediately disregarded as irrelevant, and I'm tired of hearing that argument. The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time holds a special place in my heart. It's not just a game, it's an emotional journey that stuck with me like a childhood memory etched into stone. Even now, it reigns as my all-time favorite video game, towering above the rest like the imposing peak of Death Mountain. And when I say this game means the world to me, I'm not exaggerating, it means the whole world to me. It was a realm of wonder and adventure, where every corner held secrets waiting to be uncovered. Link, Zelda, the other Kokiri kids, they weren't just characters on a screen, they were companions in a journey that felt as real as my own childhood dreams. Except for you, buddy. Fuck you. Take the Kokiri Forest, for example. It wasn't just a starting point. It was a sanctuary of childhood innocence, where the music danced with the wind, inviting you to join in on its playful melody. Even the yellowish tawny sky, the rustling trees, and all that mattered was the thrill of exploration. Or how about Zora's Domain? A hidden gem of tranquility, nestled within the rugged landscape. The music, like a gentle stream, flowed through my soul, beckoning me to dive into its crystalline waters and lose myself into the serenity of its embrace. But it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, oh no. When you walked inside the Great Deku Tree, the mood shifted like a sudden storm on a clear day and throws your young innocent mind into a strange place filled with spiders, darkness, and suddenly you're forced to man up and somehow get out of there. Unlike the modern take on the games, you couldn't just run away and come back later with 800 apples and an overpowered weapon. The music, once lighthearted, turned somber and foreboding, warning of the darkness lurking within. You walk into the Great Deku Tree and that music oozes uncanny valley that tells you, oh yeah, this is some ancient sacred type shit. Suddenly that carefree adventure took a sharp turn, thrusting you into a world of danger and uncertainty. And that's what made Ocarina of Time so special. It wasn't just about wandering in a giant open world and slaying monsters or solving puzzles even. It was about facing your fears and discovering the hero within. From the innocent joys of childhood to the harrowing trials of adulthood that we all can relate to all too closely these days. It captured the essence of growing up in a way that very few games ever have. So yes, Ocarina of Time isn't just a game, it's a cherished memory, a testament to the power of imagination and the magic of childhood dreams. And no matter how many new adventures I embark on, it'll always hold a special place in my heart as the greatest game of all time. So now that I've pretty much just told you the exact same thing that every other Zelda fan that's first game was Ocarina of Time has told you, I'll explain why I think the old formula is better from a story perspective. Breath of the Wild told a story that took place 100% in the past, and had no distinct order in how the story events unfolded. And I actually think that this works for the story that they wanted to tell, because it was meant to be a desolate, post-apocalyptic world where the story had been long forgotten even by the in-game characters. Not to mention the frickin' writers for the soon-to-be sequel, but we'll get to that later, believe me. The world was so massive and impressive, it was a blast to explore because it did feel like there was so much to discover. I was unbelievably hyped for Tears of the Kingdom, possibly more than any other game in my life, and that's not an overstatement. I thought, man, what if we go back in time and see a fully realized Hyrule? Or maybe we can go underwater and discover a whole new world. There were rumors of dungeons coming back and new enemies even from older games. Because surely we're not going back to the same exact Hyrule, I mean, there's no way. And then that first teaser trailer release showing Zelda and Link exploring deep underground only to find a corpse of Ganondorf, and by golly, I lost my mind. Because we hadn't seen Ganondorf since 2006. And then that final trailer released and absolutely dripped with glaze, as it really might be the best video game trailer I had ever seen. I was sold. I defended this game with every fiber of my body against people saying it was just $70 glorified DLC. And to my dismay, I've come to the realization that I think they might have been right. And I really had to take my fanboy goggles off to see that. I had a blast with the first 60 hours or so of this game. It felt new and mysterious, the mechanics were fun, and from a technical standpoint, I'd even go as far to say as they're revolutionary. But after that initial fun, I realized that beyond the main Great Sky Island, these Sky Islands were just like 10 copy and paste islands with really nothing to see or find except for the occasional shrine or treasure chest with a map in it. Not to mention you start the game on the best Sky Island there is, so it only gets progressively underwhelming after that. So many times I would be excited to go to another island thinking maybe this one will have something crazy on it. And I had maintained hope for so long because I had never been disappointed in a Zelda game before. I had complete faith in the Zelda team to blow my mind like they had so many times before. But that hope eventually faded in the dungeons. I don't even want to get started on the dungeons. Are they better than the Divine Beast? I mean, I guess. At least they had unique musical themes and visual aesthetics, but at their core, they were all pretty much the same. I mean, imagine walking into a dungeon and hearing this music. You think, oh yeah, this is a nice place, maybe there's some fun things to do in here. And now imagine walking into a dungeon and hearing this music.
Oh no, it's dark in here!
It's so much more atmospheric and scary. It just hits at a way deeper level, and it's not just because I was a kid, it hits the same now. All these new temples had a few terminals just like the Divine Beast, no small keys, no good mini-bosses, no cool items, and half the time, the lead up to the so-called temple was more fun than the actual temple itself. And then being able to choose the order in which you complete said dungeons means that you have to rewatch the same cutscene over and over just told by a different person.
Yes, I am your ancestor from a time long ago.
Yes, I am your ancestor from a time long past.
Yes, your ancestor from a time long past.
Oh, come on!
And not only is this annoying, but from a story standpoint, it doesn't even make sense because if you find Zelda and get the Master Sword before you complete all the temples, it doesn't trigger a change in the game's story delivery. Everyone still tells you how Zelda's missing and they have no idea what's going on. While in-game Link already knows where Zelda is, what happens, you already know, and you're just standing there like... The depths were massive and initially intriguing to explore, only to eventually realize that they're filled with really nothing. Unless you consider reused amiibo armor and gear or something. And it doesn't even work from a lore standpoint. I mean, how the hell did Majora's Mask end up here? Is this actually Majora's Mask? Well, obviously not, because I can wear it without turning into a psychopath that wants to make the moon fall. And earlier I mentioned how even the writers forgot or didn't care or whatever they did about the lore from the last game that's literally a direct precursor to this game. People who you met in the last game don't know who you are. Where's the Sheikah technology? Well, don't worry about that. How was this the first Hyrule when Skyward Sword took place at the very beginning before the timeline split? The only explanation I can think of is that this is so far in the future that old Hyrule and stories of the goddesses have been long forgotten. Hyrule fell and an eternity of time passed until this Hyrule rebuilt, and I guess, I don't know, whatever, I don't even know. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not a Zelda theorist, I'm just a salty fan that's afraid of us to lose something that we love so much, just because open world games are the popular thing right now. And Breath of the Wild was so successful, Nintendo probably sees no reason to go back. Not to mention the sheer lack of effort for the lore really feels like a slap in the face for the fans who have theorized and filled in the gaps that Nintendo never explained. And Nintendo even knows about this, yet they just said, nah, forget all about that, this is just a new story. Except, it's not new. When you make it seem like it was part of the timeline in the first place, only to do a complete 180, obviously people who really know the lore are gonna question it. Pick one or the other, it either isn't or it is. Don't put dungeons or temples in it if you're not gonna make them proper dungeons and temples. Don't focus so much on making a massive open world unless you plan on making every corner of that world focused and full of things to do. It's like watching a terribly written movie, but has insanely good CGI. The moment you stop looking at the pretty lights and turn on your brain for a second and think, wait a finger-licking minute, this doesn't make any sense. Nintendo has a bad habit of taking criticism and going from one extreme to another. Skyward Sword was too linear? Well, by golly, we'll just make a game that doesn't even have a story. And yes, I know both of these games do have stories, but the way they're told just really makes it feel like there isn't one. Nintendo really has no choice but to make some type of change to the series. Tears of the Kingdom had a massive opening for sales, but fell off way faster than Breath of the Wild ever did. Fans have been way more vocal and open about it feeling repetitive after the initial hype of the game died down. I really think people are ready for a change and ready to experience a more cohesive story, with real-time implications. Restrictions aren't inherently a bad thing. I maybe got stumped once in Tears of the Kingdom trying to figure out a puzzle, and I'm pretty sure I just ended up gluing a bunch of sticks together and pretty much made a bridge and completely bypassed the puzzle. That is not satisfying. Sure, it's cool to be creative and do things your way, but I don't always know what I want. That's why I'm not a game designer. I let them show me what's fun. Imagine playing Ocarina of Time or Wind Waker with unlimited freedom and tools that let you bypass all the dungeons, side quests, and story. You go straight to Ganondorf and boom, that's it. No thank you. You think I could make a better Ocarina of Time experience than what the developers intended?
You serious?
Absolutely not. These are great games, but they aren't Zelda, and I'll wait for somebody to change my mind. In all seriousness, I do love Breath of the Wild, and I think Tears of the Kingdom is near perfect at what it's going for. That being a vast open sandbox where you can do whatever you want, explore and be free. They're both feats of gaming that redefined how an open world game can be. All I'm saying is complete freedom and only freedom isn't the only thing that makes us love Zelda games. You can't solely rely on that to make up for everything else that you're taking away. And yeah, I'm talking to you, Nintendo. And all this comes from a place of love because I'm so passionate for the series and I just don't want it to get lost and be a thing of the past. Alright guys, that's gonna go ahead and do it for the video today. This is officially my second YouTube video. If you haven't seen my Helldivers 2 video that I posted the other day, go ahead and check that out if that interests you at all, but you've given me a ton of love on that video. I've gotten like over 30 subscribers just in the last like 6 hours from that. So that's been amazing, and I appreciate you guys so much. Hopefully I didn't ruffle too many feathers with this video, and you guys think I hate Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, because I definitely do not. I just kind of miss the old traditional style, so hopefully they kind of do at least maybe a game or two in that style later on, but yeah, if you want to subscribe, go ahead and become a Guardian of the Glaze here at the Milky Donut. I'll see you next time.